You're watching the Battered Fans Network.
Chris, they're on to back.
Welcome to episode number 1 of the episode number 50, episode number 98 of the episode number 145 of the Battered Herons podcast.
You know who else is back? Aliens.
Right now with the whole Messi conspiracy, all is set up for him. It's tiring to hear the same garbage and people whining.
Suarez is here, that means I'm here. You're gonna have to deal with
Let
it.
it soak
and
in,
if you don't
baby.
like it, I'm gonna start fighting people, bro.
I think he deserves, to be battered.
I've said
think we
worse
might have
things
just-
on the pitch. I've said worse things on the pitch. I mean,
145 this guy, and that's it.
Not gonna lie to you, Solana. You're probably better off just not saying anything. He said we suck without Messi.
Yeah, we suck without Messi. Like what?
and happy 200.
We done this 200 times, Chris.
I mean, after that introduction, I'm doing terrible. I didn't know that, but
What a disaster. This show is just a disaster. I'm not even gonna sign out.
And while you're at it, get that thumb, put it to work, like and subscribe.
No question about it. I am ready to get hurt again.
Danny, I'm flying solo, baby. Welcome to another episode of the Battered Herons podcast, guys. I am your host, Chris Duran, and alongside me, I have nobody. It's just me, myself, and I. We're gonna have somebody on shortly. It's a little bit of a delay. Danny is at home crying now because, as you guys know, Colombia took a major L last night in the Copa America. I mean, what a crushing loss. Huh? I mean, what a crushing loss. 1-0 at the end of the second half of overtime. That is awful. It's really a sad. I mean, I didn't really want it. I was dying for it to go to penalties because I really wanted to see Martinez face against Colombia at the end. And Sophia is mentioning the live is delayed because Danny had to pull himself together. Yeah, you could say that. No, but in all seriousness, Danny is enjoying the day with his family and it's his wife's birthday. So happy birthday to you, Jenny. You are the CEO. And thank you guys so much for hanging tight. But you know what? At least I was able to find a fill-in Danny, right? And let's go ahead and bring him in. So here we have Solana coming in to share the platform with me. Solana, what's going on, brother?
just recovering from a tough week. Just a really tough week, but I'm glad to be over the Copa America. Congratulations to Argentina and Colombia, nicely played final, and congratulations to Argentina for passing every other South American nation and hoisting up number 16. So, it doesn't come easy, as Rodrigo de Paul said, but it's tough work, and you got to tip your hat off to the teams who make it to the final. So well done by both teams. We'll talk about who did not do a good job a little bit later, huh?
No, absolutely. I mean, we're going to talk about that for sure. I know that I really wanted to leave Copa America talk for tomorrow, because tomorrow we're going to be having Battered Herons cafecito with Battered Herons in the morning, guys. So, guys, tomorrow on Tuesday, usually you'd expect us in the afternoon. Expect us bright and early tomorrow, 7 in the morning, sharp, with cafecito en mano, because we're coming early. My name is Jeff is asking, who knows how long Messi is out? This is something that I do want to mention a little bit about, what occurred in Copa America, because look, at the end of the day, win, loss, Argentina, Colombia, this is an Inter Miami podcast, and at the end of the day, this photo right here shows that we all lost. Okay.
Yeah, but let me tell you, Chris, how many times have you had that same thing on one of your ankles?
Yeah, that's happened. I fractured my ankle a couple times.
Yeah, you play basketball. You know what that feels like, right?
It's awful.
But anybody who knows what that feels like, normal people like you and I, it might take a few months for us to get back to 100%. But
yes,
guys who are getting treatment 24/7 around the clock, like Messi, I don't think it's gonna take him 3 months, maybe 6 weeks. Is my guess. But we'll see. What do you think?
I mean, that's a tremendo injury. Here we got Francisco Garcia saying blame the pitch for Messi's injury.
I was gonna ask you, what do you think about that? Because it was one of the better pitches on the whole tournament. To not get into that talk, but it was one of the better pitches. Although I did see the lines of like the squares of grass.
Yeah.
So I don't know, man. That's damn.
I don't want to blame it so much on the pitch. I mean, look, Arya is mentioning pitches were awful. A lot of people are mentioning it also. Guys, these two plays where he tweaked his ankle, they're non-contact injuries. The first one where he planted his foot to kick with his left, right? And somebody mentioned earlier, I wanted to mention this before we get off topic, that I said overtime. Yes, I said overtime. Okay. I watch a lot of basketball. Okay. So I'm going to say overtime. I don't know what it is. It's not extra time. It's, what is it? Second time?
No, it's I guess I mean in Spanish it's prórroga, tiempo adicional. I guess you can call it extra time or additional
extra time. Okay.
I mean it's really, if you look at like ESPN, it'll tell you AET. So I honestly don't know what AET stands for. Additional extra time? I don't know, man.
I guess I call it overtime. I'm sorry, guys. You're gonna have to deal with it. I apologize in advance. But again, I'm not a doctor, but I could tell you that Messi planted his right foot, and you could tell that he just didn't have a great grip on it, messed it up. Now, that wasn't the more worrisome slip up. It was the second one where he was chasing down someone. And again, non-contact injury, planted his foot. Now, I mean, we can blame the grass all we want, but at the end of the day, these were like non-contact injuries, and everybody was playing on the same pitch. He's had issues with this right foot, hasn't he?
He has. He's had in the past. And I mean, you mentioned the first one where it was non-contact. I've looked at that. I've looked at the GIF of it probably 250 times, and it looks ugly because it's not a traditional sprain. Usually a traditional sprain is on the outside, right? You'll twist it this way. But this was an inside sprain, which makes it a little bit more interesting in terms of the timetable when it's going to get back, because everybody's used to turning your ankle this way, but inside is the rough one. And I think that's why it's a grade 2 sprain versus a grade 1. But man, his thing ballooned up, 10 minutes after it happened, which is nuts. I saw a lot of people commenting on social media saying like that's what it should look like the day after. Not 30 minutes after. So
man. I mean, but that's the thing, right? Somebody had mentioned right here, Gus says the second one is because the ligaments are already sprained from the first one. I mean, I could see that. And Tony Axe is mentioning a comment that to me is beautiful. Says bad pitch doesn't mean that everyone will get injured. That's a terrible argument. I mean, look, I understand, but at the same time, Tony, the thing is, players get injured and things happen, right? You can't always blame the pitch. I mean, it could be that, look, maybe he tweaked his ankle earlier in the week in another game, and it just so happens that, look, when you play sports, you tweak something, right? Eventually, if you don't take care of it or you don't get off of it and you play again, it's going to tweak again. That happens in sports, any sport, anytime. If you do athletic things and you run and you jump, if you keep running and jumping after you just twisted your ankle, you're probably going to twist it again.
Absolutely. I mean, I have no doubt about what you're saying. It's the way of sports, right? If you don't rest, that's the only thing that's really going to get the player better is rest. And that's not a lot of what these players have. Seeing their schedule, it's basically a year-round schedule that they're playing. So Messi is going to get some much needed rest now. Not by choice, but by fact. And Inter Miami's going to have to move forward over the next 6 to 8 weeks without him. Something that the team's been used to doing over the last 5 weeks. So they've done more winning than losing without him, at least this season. So that's a positive looking forward. Now, I will tell you this, Chris, to see his ankle the way it was, and then him to be able to still walk over and lift that trophy. I mean, is that adrenaline or is he Superman? I mean, let's be honest.
I think that's gotta be adrenaline, man. I mean, you're so excited for your team to win. I mean, you could tell. Look, I didn't download the picture of him crying, just out of respect, and not only of that, but just it's a sad thing. A lot of people were kind of like saying mean things. Listen, this person, he's passionate for what he does. He cares for what he does, and to see someone cry in that fashion, it really does show that they really care deeply, not only for the sport but to play for their country. So that's one thing that I really have to commend, and I'm so happy that he ended up happy after, because Argentina won. So Arya saying I was in tears when I saw him like that, and AZ Rebellion saying nah, he's built like that, GOAT status. So I mean, it could be either or, maybe adrenaline, maybe he's the GOAT. We're going to talk a little bit more about that tomorrow, but that's something I did want to go over, because this is something that's going to impact us as Inter Miami as a team. And look, we're here to talk Inter Miami. Tomorrow we'll leave the Copa America, because I want to get Danny on here to be able to talk a little bit about it too. But in the meantime, I guess since we're going to be previewing the game coming up on Wednesday against Toronto FC, we're going to bring in a man that a lot of you are familiar with already. He goes by the name of Italy Jet. So everybody say what's up to Italy Jet.
What's up? It's good to be back. Solana, Chris, some of my favorite people, even though you're Inter fans. Ugh.
Well,
I mean, there's a lot of bad I could say about you too, buddy, but we'll keep that to the chat.
I mean, there's a lot of things we could talk about. You got Knicks over here. It's so many things.
Well, for those of you who don't know, us three, we do another podcast. We do the Battered Heat Fans podcast as well. So for those of you that follow that channel, awesome. If you haven't, please take the time, go check out the Battered Heat Fans podcast, like and subscribe, help us out there, so that way we can be able to grow all of us together. But this time we're not going to be talking about the Heat. We're going to be talking a little bit of Inter Miami against Toronto FC. Now, I do want to ask you a question, Italy. I don't know. Maybe you were watching the game yesterday, the Copa America. Did you see the injury that Messi sustained? I mean, I put the picture up here. I'll put it again.
Yeah.
But what were your thoughts when you saw this right here? I mean, look at that ankle swollen up.
I mean, I've seen injuries like that. Just in sports, in my field of geriatrics as well. It's not a fun injury. It's not a fun injury to go through. I know my father-in-law has had that injury, and it took him more than 6 months to heal. But I think since it's Messi, I agree with Solana. I think he's going to take less. I think it's because he's a player. He knows these type of injuries, how long it takes, and also he's making millions and millions of dollars where he can come back fast. So I think he's going to be fine. But also you got to realize his age too. I mean, his age is going to play a factor in this as well. What is it going to look like coming back? So I still think he's going to be fine, but it's going to be a little bit of a different Messi, I would say.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, absolutely. Listen, when I saw that, I was terrified. I was legitimately terrified. I didn't think he was going to play this Wednesday, to be perfectly honest. So I didn't expect anything coming out of that. I thought that he'd rest after all of this. But I did expect him to be able to at least show up for Saturday, maybe. But, at least this Wednesday for sure, it's guaranteed that he's not going to be playing against Toronto.
Yeah.
Now,
definitely.
Toronto for sure needs the help. I was looking at Toronto's schedule and their recent games. They just recently won against Philadelphia 2-1. I mean, Philadelphia is a dumpster fire to begin with.
Right.
But before that, they lost against Columbus, lost against Forge, lost against Orlando, lost against Atlanta, lost against the Red Bulls, lost against Nashville, lost against Chicago, tied against DC United. They tied against Philadelphia again. They lost against Cincinnati. And the last game that they won, at least MLS-wise, was May 18th when they scored 5 goals against Montreal. So they've literally lost or tied 10 times. Haven't had a positive well, at least a positive game until this last game against Philadelphia.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So, like, what's happening?
I mean, what can I say? I mean, the beginning of the year, it was crap. In the middle of the season, coming to now, it was good. Then it went back to crap again. So I think the biggest difference is Manning's out. Our sporting director and GM is gone. It's 2 years in the making. He should have already been gone when Bob Bradley was gone. I still love our coach. I still like some of our players. I still think we're like 3 players away of becoming a playoff team again, but no one's gelling. No one's gelling, and that's the problem. You bring in these players, bring big players, and what are they going to look like together? What are they going to do over time? I still think it's not the coach. I don't think it's John Herdman, because I like John Herdman. I like what he brings. But as a bunch of people have said on Twitter, podcasts, are they going to believe in what Herdman is coming in with? And it's been up and down. It's been extremely up and down. And also, Bernadeschi and Signe aren't holding their own. They're very streaky. And then who's going to help Sean Johnson in goalie because our defense is flat? It's very, very streaky. I like our young players. I do like our young players. I think we can build off some things, and especially from last game. But overall, it's a very, very streaky team. We went from one of the best teams in MLS to being a dumpster fire the last 5 years. So,
I mean, you guys, after Chris completely destroyed you, you kind of destroyed yourself. But I'm going to vindicate you a little bit, because
shut up.
You're still in 8th. No, but you're in 8th place.
Yeah, we're in 8th place. Yeah, the playoffs. Yeah,
right?
I understand.
So it's been an awful season. You're within the playoffs, and you've got 2 guys on your team in Bernadeschi and Insigne who really at any point can be, lightning in a bottle, fire your team up, and, can get you goals. So you've got world-class players on your team. Now, unfortunately, I can't say so much about your defense. You have,
like
an ex player, Mabika. I'm so glad that he's playing center back for you. If Suarez goes out there on Wednesday, he is going to eat and eat and eat. I don't know about Campana yet. He's looked off over the last month. Maybe he got some inside information or something, a pep talk from Joao Felix last night at the game. But look, all I can say is you guys are in 8th place, and you have world-class players. So there's no need to be down on yourself, buddy. I mean,
well, I mean, we're getting some help back with the Canadian players coming back, Osario and I forgot his name, number 22. I keep forgetting his name for some reason, but that'll help. But with Messi out and the momentum of us winning going into this game, and you guys losing your last game, I think it's going to help. But what type of Toronto are we talking about? What type of Toronto is going to show up? This could either be a 2-1 win for us or a 3-4 win for you. That's just what it's like every game with Toronto. So who's going to show up?
Well, and that's one thing that I got to agree with you on with Solana, that you mentioned. Listen, this team at any point when they gel, it's a problem. And that's one thing that I've always kind of mentioned about Toronto is, I mean, you have Bernadeschi, when he is on it, he is on
agreed.
it. And then you have Insigne, like when he is on it, same thing. And when those two gel, or when they play well, I mean, I don't know if Tony Axe was writing here correctly, when they're good, they're unplayable. Basically, like, they are a good team, right?
Yeah.
It just happens to be that they're just inconsistent. Right.
Yeah.
And it kind of shows in the recent schedule, as far as like what's been going on with Toronto. I mean, I remember watching a couple weeks ago, Toronto, and I said, man, this team is pretty problematic. Then all of a sudden they have this sort of dumpster fire. Now, you mentioned a couple things as far as the changes to the team. Now, what kind of sort of lineup do you see them running? Because the last game they ended up running like a 3-4-2-1, and then before that they ended up running against Columbus, which was an awful game. They ended up running a 3-5-2. Bernadeschi ended up getting a yellow card. I mean, Insigne, I haven't seen him play. What exactly is the lineup that Toronto typically runs?
I think it's a 3-4-2-1. That's been some of their main consistent, but I know they've been changing up a lot like recently. But since we are getting Larea back in Osario, I think I could definitely see a 3-3-4 with 4 in the back, 3 mid, and 3 up top. I could definitely see that happening. But I think if you're gonna go from what they did last game and the momentum coming into Wednesday, I would still go with the back 3. So for me, that's what I would do. But I know having Rosario and Lorea is going to help.
Yeah, no, I mean, it seems like they play a back 3 very, very often. I was going back, Chris and Italy while you guys were chatting, and I think the last 5 or 6 games they've played some sort of variation of a back 3.
We did, we do, yeah.
And you know, thinking about Inter Miami and the way they play 4-3-3, Chris, you know, you have to be almost salivating thinking about them playing a back 3 and knowing that you've got, you know, Robert Taylor, possibly Matias Rojas coming back. You know, you're definitely going to be missing Messi, but, you know, Campana, maybe in a back 3, might be able to do some damage. He might be able to get free, especially if Mabika's playing there, you know, as the center back in there. So, as an Inter Miami fan, you got to be happy that they're going to play a back 3, especially if you know Tata is going to be looking to press.
Well, and I want to speak of something here, because usually whenever we preview one of the games coming up, I tend to try to look at like discipline and how the teams are as far as, you know, that goes. I mean, Toronto is second they're basically in second place with offsides being called against them 55 times. The only team ahead of them is Cincinnati at 63. Yellow cards, they're literally in, what is it? I see here, they're literally in second place with 66 yellow cards. And you could see by the slew of yellow cards that they've been getting over the last couple games. And then in red cards, they have a total of 5. So they're in 4th place on that. So as far as like defensively, they're a pretty non-disciplined team when it comes to that. I mean, just in fouls alone, they're one of the top 6-7 teams in committing fouls.
I mean, once you get the Italian hotheads going, it's kind of, I mean, especially Bernadeschi, it's hard to get this team back. But I think since we're going to have our captain back in Osario, I hope we can get these guys going and pumped again, because I feel like that's what we've been missing these past couple weeks.
Yeah. Go. You were going to say something, Solana? I'm sorry.
I was actually gonna ask Italy what he thinks about Insigne and Bernadeschi now going, you know, up against Jordi Alba and Busquets, because they've seen each other on the international stage before, representing the national teams. They've seen each other at the club level, obviously, you know, most likely playing in some sort of Champions League or whatever when they were at Barcelona and
Euros, World Cup, Nations League, yeah.
I mean, that's got to be the focus this weekend. On Wednesday, in terms of, you know, the highlight of the game, these 4, you know, classic legend, you know, maybe not legend, but big Euro stars facing off against each other, especially after Spain just won, you know, the Euro Cup yesterday, and Italy, didn't fare so well. And I'm not trying to throw that in your face. I'm just saying, do you think the Italians are going to come out for some revenge on the Spanish? That's what I'm asking. You know, are they? You know, we're going to see a red card from Bernadeschi tomorrow because he's heated. He's going to take out Busquets. I mean, you never know. It's possible.
I mean, anything could happen in North and South American football. I think we have really established that in the Copa America. So overall, I could totally see Bernadeschi getting a yellow card. Red card, it just really depends on if Osario can control this team. I think because he's our captain. John Herdman is a great coach when it comes to like rallying the team together. But if Bernadeschi is pissed off and you guys score like 1 or 2 goals, that's when Bernadeschi goes down. There's no his mind getting back on track. Insigne is that guy to get people back on track. So I think overall, I could definitely see Bernadeschi get a yellow. I could see maybe Osario getting a yellow as well. I know Pereira is due for a yellow card here soon as well. So it's definitely the highlight point. I was actually glad you brought that up, because it's anytime when you have Italian players go against Spanish players, it's always must see TV because of their background, especially where teams that they have played, and they played a lot in the Champions League as well against each other. So I think it's going to be must see TV Wednesday.
Absolutely.
Well,
go ahead. No, go ahead. I think that's
no. You go ahead. Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Yeah. The chat's mentioning that I'm not going to get to see my wish. You know, we're not going to get to see Boosie against these guys. Apparently, I had
Oh,
forgotten.
is he out?
Yeah,
Oh,
he
I
got
didn't know
a
that.
red card last game, if I'm not mistaken,
Oh.
right, Chris?
Sorry, Chad. I didn't know that.
He had a yellow. Me neither. I was excited. I had totally forgotten. This Copa America has really gotten in my head, as everybody can see. But we're recuperating one day at a time here. So, let's keep it moving, Chris.
Well, the one thing I wanted to talk a little bit about is what doesn't fare for Toronto is the fact that they're always, at least for the most part, offsides. And looking, I mean,
Yeah.
listen,
and if you score a goal in the first 20 minutes, I mean, we're always trailing back to get something done anyway.
Hey, Campana's always offsides too. Not to be a hater on this side, but and to go at that, Inter Miami also allows early goals as well. So I mean, everything that you're saying, Italy, I mean, it's the same thing on us. And last time we got overexcited with a team, Chris, I'm going to remind you, last time we got overexcited, it was Atlanta, and we got hammered. So I'm not getting overexcited anymore. I'm staying even keel. I'm taking everything Italy says with a grain of salt, and I'm not getting ahead of myself this time.
Well, I mean, like I said, the one thing that I could tell you is even with Busquets out, I feel like with the way that the defense has been playing, especially when they have Ian Frey and Aviles, which I imagine that they're going to play. Like, there's absolutely no way that Tata is going to make the same mistake of putting a statue back there with another statue or like a mini statue, right? Yeah, I mean, we're at this point, we're going to have some pretty good center backs back there. And then you got Alba on one side, you got Wagon on the other. I'm pretty sure that they can be able to handle themselves against Bernadeschi and Insigne in case they do play. I really don't see us really struggling on defense, to be honest. And I'm pretty sure that these guys have sort of been itching to play. It's been a week and a half. People have been able to sort of recover. Yeah, people have been able to sort of get back in shape.
Is Suarez playing? Is Suarez playing Wednesday?
Suarez was spotted practicing. I'm not sure if he's going to be playing, but he was spotted at practice today. So that's a good thing. I mean, I'll tell you this much. Even if he doesn't play, just the fact that he's back, I guarantee you that there's going to be a Campana goal. At least in my opinion, because now Campana's got his balls tickled because now he sees that Suarez is there to take the spot back. So I'm pretty sure that Campana is probably going to put one in the back of the net. And look, AZ Rebellion is saying Aviles is playing. Thank God.
Yeah. I mean, and also which I think is thing that we have to see is it is an Inter Miami. You guys, we played against you 8 times, and you guys have won 6 times, and we won 2 times. And I think Messi was not playing those 2 times, right? So I think it's a little bit of a better chance, but it's all about the momentum and who scores that first goal. Honestly, it's going to be a back and forth game. I think it's going to be a very defense tactical game until someone scores that first goal, in my personal opinion.
Solana, interrupt me if you wanted to make a point. I thought that you were going to make a point, but listen, Pace Hunter saying, I say this about Campapi every single week. No, I don't say that Campana is going to score a goal every week. I don't say that. Now
I do.
Hazel,
I think I've said it every single week. That's far
every single week.
And I've been right. I think one time.
Well, but I think it's fair for one to say that your DP is going to score a goal when he finally has time to play like a DP. Am I wrong? I mean, look, Mr. Krabs is telling me stop being sus. What am I being sus about, Mr. Krabs? Am I being sus about Campana and the expectations for Campana? Now, people are mentioning that Chelo is suspended. So it says that it's going to be Aviles and Christoph again with Frey at right back. I'll take that. I'll take Ian Frey at right back, or I'll take David Ruiz at right back, and then give me Aviles and Frey at center back, because at least Frey can be able to widen up and play right back, I guess, in the times where David Ruiz can maybe push up a little bit. I mean, is this ridiculous here, Solana? Campapi should retire by Pace Hunter. I mean, Campana looks like a complete model.
I mean, considering
no, he shouldn't retire. Why should he retire?
But it was a week ago. It was a week ago that there was a report from out of Germany that Stuttgart was was scouting him. I don't understand how, but they were scouting him. And so if there's talks of him going back to Europe, I mean, you can't say that he's got to retire. Look, I spoke to a couple of good friends from Ecuador over the weekend. One of them is a journalist in Ecuador. I had an asado at a friend's house, and he was there, and we were talking about Campana, and I asked him, I said, what's up with him? I need to know the truth. Coming from an Ecuadorian, somebody who understands, I need to understand what's wrong with him. And it's just, he says Campana's too comfortable in Miami. His family lives here. It's almost like he's at home, and he's just too comfortable. There's nothing lighting his ass to get him to go there. And look, I think it's what Chris, Danny, you guys have been saying all season. I've chimed in saying it as well. So I think it's ridiculous to say that he should retire. I think he just needs to change the scenery. I think him on any other team would be a different player.
I'd agree with that. I think him in any team at this point, especially the MLS, I do think that he would be a completely different player because he'd be able to start off with a sort of a clean slate. And look, one thing I do have to sort of, I guess, give Campana the benefit of the doubt of is he's always been playing behind guys that are kind of like sort of overshadowing him. So that's the one thing where I would kind of agree with that. I mean, so many people are mentioning Joao Felix.
Yeah,
because they saw Joao.
Weston McKennie. I know I've heard that one. I know. Mr. Krabs said that. I've heard McKennie too. Felix, and also Toronto's free agency has opened a week before. I know we're rumored with the defender. I know you guys been rumored with a couple forwards. It's this week and next week is really going to show what tactical and who's going to be added, especially now that my GM and sporting director are gone, and what you guys need with Messi being out for a while. What are you guys going to do in the midfield? These next couple weeks is going to be interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. The transfer window opens on Thursday, the 18th of July.
This is the week before, so we're already into it. Yeah,
correct. I mean, Inter Miami is is essentially been linked to every single top name out there. I mean, you can't show a player on TV at any game, like Inter Miami game, Uruguay game, Argentina game, anywhere where any Inter Miami player plays without saying, oh my God, that guy's being linked to Inter Miami. It's absolutely nuts. And one thing I wanted to name, Chris, another forward, Inter Miami forward, who was also somewhat overshadowed and then ended up going on and having greener pastures somewhere else, is Julian Carranza playing at Philadelphia. And now he just signed a contract to go over to Europe. And so that just goes to show you that, I mean, he was overshadowed by Pipita Higuain and by some other forwards as well. So, maybe that gets to some of these younger forwards in their head, and they just need, to go somewhere else and, quote unquote, be the man. And obviously here, he's not the man.
Yeah, and he's not going to be the man. I mean, at this point, he would have better success elsewhere. Absolutely. I really think so. And I think that he would be like a front runner in terms of one of the top goal scorers in the league if he was to be in a team that's willing to work their system around him. So now, before we get into the predictions, right? Italy, typically Danny phrases this question a little bit better, but I'm going to phrase it the way
you
go ahead.
You do.
No, you do it. No, you do it. You do it.
All right. You're hosting. And I was going to say Italy, because you've stayed at my house. I love to bet. We've bet at the Marlins game together. We've bet, games. You've seen me on my app. I'm going to throw down everything I have on my Hard Rock app on Inter Miami on Wednesday. All right. I need to know what I need to tell Tata how to beat you guys in order for me not to lose. What do I got to tell him?
I plead the fifth. You don't got to tell him nothing.
How can we beat you guys?
Yeah, man. What do I tell Tata? What's the one way? What are the key elements that we got to do to beat you?
I mean, to be honest, you got to get that first goal. The first goal, if you get the first goal in the first 20 minutes, I would say 25 minutes, I think it's going to be that's when usually teams relax a little bit. Like they get the first goal and then they relax and then they usually go on. Sometimes we'll come back in the second half and score 2 goals, but Not really. It's you just gotta be good the whole game, because if you gotta rile up Bernadeschi, and things will come flat. And you gotta piss off Sean Johnson. Sean Johnson, he's not happy with this defense right now. And if you rile them up and get your big guys on him, it's gonna be pretty easy for that. It's gonna because I still think it's gonna be a back and forth game. So that's just with me.
Well, hopefully, because it's going to be a Wednesday game. I'm going to be going out to the game, and hopefully it's going to be an interesting one. Wednesday games are typically not too fun, especially to go to. But hopefully they listen to your advice, and we can be able to have a slobber knocker in our hands. Speaking of slobber knockers, let's get some predictions out of the way. Italy, since you are our guest today, we're going to allow you to go ahead and give us your prediction of the game this Wednesday. And then Solana, you can go ahead and throw in what you predict.
We're coming off a win. Usually when we come off a win, we either lose or tie the next game. But since this is Inter Miami, and I do feel good with the couple players coming back, I still think this is going to be a tie. I think it's going to be a 2-2 tie.
Very interesting. I didn't see a tie. I didn't see you predicting a tie. Okay. All right. What about you, Solana? What do you think is going to be the outcome of the game in 2 days?
I mean, I'm going to be straight up with you. I'm not going to go with a tie. I've seen, the players that Toronto has, the defense specifically. I feel confident with Inter Miami and their forwards and the midfield, especially with Bright most likely going to start now that the chat mentioned that Boosie is out. So I'm going to predict a 2-1 Inter Miami win. 2-1 has been a very, very predictable.
Common team for both of us.
Common score. Yeah. Common score line for the team, especially over the last month. And so that's what I'm going to say. 2-1 Inter Miami.
Well, I want to mention something here because a couple of people mentioned Aime Mabika, and Mabika, he actually played last time against Orlando City, and since then he hasn't played. So since July 30, he hasn't played. It's the repeating, thing here is 2-1 losses for you guys. So the easy thing would be to say 2-1, but Chicago beat you guys 4-1. The Rebels beat you guys 3-0. Columbus beat you guys 4-0. Cincinnati.
So what are you saying? It's a 4-0 win, Inter? Is that what you keep? Is that what you're putting out there?
Cincinnati beat you guys 4-3, and I feel like we have a pretty capable team that's going to be enough to score a couple extra goals. So I think that this could be like an easy 3-1 win, possibly 4. But I think I'm gonna reserve myself to SoFlo Soccer's response here, 3-1. We have a lot of other people like Judas saying 2-0. We got who else? We got Skrilla mentioning 2-1. Ash with the crazy talk saying 0-0 draw. Mr. Krabs saying 3-1 Miami. I think they will give up a soft goal. I mean, I can see all of that happening, guys. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Now, there's been a couple questions earlier, and I might as well pose them because it's time to have some fun here. Hazel Lopez is asking Wu-Tang or Mobb Deep. This is a really good one because Mobb Deep's got some bangers, but I'm going to go with the Wu every single day. If you guys haven't watched that show on Hulu yet, it's fantastic.
There you go. All righty.
I don't know if you guys are hip-hop fans.
I agree with you, though. I go Wu-Tang Clan over Mobb Deep all day.
Yeah, I've gone to a bunch of concerts for Wu-Tang. I love it. And guys, you guys need to check out the show on Hulu. I'm not sponsored by them or anything, but it is a fantastic show. Now, I don't think we asked this question to you last time, Italy, but I'm just going to go ahead and just plop it on the screen here. And I'm trying to see if I can be able to find it. And we got to pick a band. We got to pick a boy band here, Italy. So who are you going to be going with? Is it going to be Backstreet Boys or NSYNC?
And there's only
first CD I ever got in my life was a Backstreet Boys. So I'm going to go Backstreet.
What?
First
are
CD.
you kidding me? That
First
was your
CD I've
first
ever got.
CD?
That was my first CD.
Wow.
Was Backstreet Boys.
That's actually
my Nona got it for me for Christmas, and yeah, sorry.
that's actually very. What was your? Do you remember what your first CD was, Solana?
My first CD, absolutely. My first CD was, actually no, I don't remember. I have to look it up. I remember the picture of the CD. I don't remember who it was, but I'll look it up. I'll tell you right now. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna tell you what my first CD was. My first CD was All for One, their first album.
Yeah.
That was my first ever CD. The first ever album I ever purchased in my whole life was the Wu-Tang Clan double disc. That was the first one I ever purchased. So yeah, I'm assuming that you're looking it up, Solana.
I am indeed. I am indeed.
Go ahead, Jet.
Now, here's the thing, though. My first gift for the first CD was Backstreet Boys, but the first CD I bought was definitely 98 Degrees.
Ah, got him. Look at that.
Freedom.
Ash
Thank
Freedom.
you for putting that down there. Nice. I was like, that brings back memories. So yeah, I loved it. I love my CD player. Love playing it on car rides. That was so good.
So, Solana, have you been able to find it or no? Are we going to have to hit that tomorrow in the Cafecito show?
We're going to have to wait until tomorrow until the Cafecito show because actually I found it, bro. It was, if I'm not, it was Notorious B.I.G.'s 1994 Ready to Die Out.
Nice.
That's a classic.
My first European album that I bought was Iriki I Poveri, all the classic hits from Europe and Italy. I don't know if anybody knows who they are, but they're an Italian band, very legendary band of a trio. If anybody knows.
I'm going to look that up for sure because that sounds interesting. But I mean, that basically wraps up today's show, guys. Chat, thank you guys so much for hanging out. Italy, let everybody know where they could be able to find you.
Man, I'm on all social media platforms except TikTok. Italy Jet. I do a show with Solana, Chris, and Danny with the Battered Heat fans, New York Jets, Red Sox. I know it sounds ridiculous. I get it. But yeah, those are my teams, and that's where I'm at. Italy Jet right down here, Instagram and Twitter.
Nice. Any last words, Solana, before we head out?
Well, I've been a very quiet Solana over the last few days. I've done a lot of reflecting and talk a little bit about it on the Spanish show in 20 minutes.
Oh, absolutely. Guys, if you want some more Battered Herons content, guys, just hang out for 20 minutes. Come right back to the same channel. So that way you can watch us talk in Spanish, at least me as best as I can in Spanish. And if not, and you guys don't want to watch us in Spanish, it's okay. Come back in about 9 hours, and then you can be able to watch us, Battered Herons podcast, tomorrow morning at 7 in the morning Eastern Standard Time. So guys, don't miss it. Thank you guys so much in the chat for hanging out with us. You guys are legitimately the best part of the show. For those of you listening on audio, Spotify, iTunes, whatever the case is on your iPod, go ahead and just leave us a like or subscribe or comment. Danny, you're a piece of crap and Colombia lost. And again, thank you to Italy for joining us. Chat, you're the best. Refer us to any of your friends, any buddies that like soccer and Inter Miami podcast. Your presence was definitely much appreciated. Solana, thank you for filling in for Danny today. And guys, catch us in the Spanish show in a little bit. So until the next one, have a good one.
Ciao.
Nos vemos.